At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Get ready. Yeah! What's going on, all you scallywags? Nutmeggers across the fruited plain. It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC. Get used to that, because on this official day of Reese on the radio, we found our intro, brought to you by none other than a group I found out of nowhere. I don't believe that God has coincidence in his plan. I believe there's a master plan. I do. I don't get all religious on the show. You know that. But, I'm a firm believer in God. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that God has a plan. And Friday night, out of nowhere, I say to my wife, you know what? You don't drink. I don't drink. We don't party. But we never go anywhere. And because we don't drink, who says that we can't go out and have a good time and go dancing? So my wife looked at me like I was crazy and said, where do you want to go? I said, I have no idea. No GPS required. I don't know anything about this town. I start driving all over the place. About 20 minutes later, I come down this strip, and it's got a whole bunch of bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. They're small little rinky-dink, out-of-the-place holes in the wall. And sure enough, as we're walking back and forth, really not finding anything engaging, there's a lot of young people out there. I want to applaud you, young people. You guys will wear anything or barely anything. My wife and I looking like old people. We look like we were walking up and down the strip looking for our children who had run away. We look like parents looking for our kids who may be out doing something wrong, like we were trying to catch them doing something. So anyway, I'm saying to myself, you know what? I want to go see a live band. I haven't seen a live band in a long time. So I do. I hear a band inside either setting up or just starting their set. I don't know what music it is. I know it's rock. I don't care. Live bands are better when it's rock. It's not like I'm going to go up there and hear some, hip-hop group. Rock bands are the best, especially unknown bands. That's what I love about live music. They'll do some covers. But what I love about live bands and new bands I've never heard of, I'm going to hear songs that I've never heard of before, and I get to critique them. Anyway, so I get there, and there's a band on stage. Clearly men younger than me, but of age. And they're on stage, and they're all wearing black shirts with ties. It's very reminiscent of like the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. I got that impression. Start listening to a couple of the songs, and I hear one song that I like, and then I hear a second song that I like. And they're all original songs. And I'm saying, oh, those songs actually sound like they're talking about me, talking about, like, I can relate to these songs. First song is Let's Get Out of This Town. I could totally relate there. So can Connecticut. And the other song is Holding Up the Wall. And the lyrics in that song, I won't even give them to you because I want you to look them up. Because I went over the Get Out of This Town and Holding Up the Wall songs, and before I could say a word, my wife leans into me. Roseanne says, you should use one of these. No, you should use this song as your intro. And I said, yeah, I already have two. So we watched them perform. We knew they were getting off soon. They claimed, they said they were getting off soon. They're going to play a couple of songs. Then they played a great cover song that I love. I can't play it here, licensing. But played a great cover song. They killed it. So we wait. And finally, I get a hold of the lead singer, Daniel Pena, who I know is listening now, and I want to applaud him for a great job. But Daniel Pena, his guitarist, Mike Ponce, bass was D Snake, and I'm a big bass fan, D, so you killed it. I really, really loved his look. And King Roland, I knew it was predestined. Their drummer's name is Roland, and who is the producer here on the Reese on the Radio program? None other than Roland Matthews. It was like, again, preordained. I was like, this is perfect. So I talked to Daniel, and I said, look, I'd really love to use one of your songs as the intro. And he was all but, excited. I've never seen anybody more excited at some guy walking up to him saying, I'd love to use one of your songs as my intro. And he was extremely enthusiastic. We talked on Sunday, so he let us do it. I got to play it just so you know. Get used to it. And I want you to show these guys some love. The band is called The Panics, and that's P-A-N-I-X. The Panics, I'm wearing their T-shirt, which they lovingly gave to me. If you want to watch, go online, go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com so you can see the picture. I love the shirt. That's it right there. Go check them out and download the song, Holding Up the Wall, or anything else for that matter, but show them some love on Holding Up the Wall. When you hear the lyrics, you will understand why I chose it. Because when I'm listening to it, the only thing I think about is our elected officials, people who we elect to get stuff done, who only end up getting inside those halls and just hold up the wall. They do nothing. Everything that they do has nothing to do with working for us. And everything in this song epitomizes exactly that. And I knew it was right, and I heard it. I had to listen to it 5-6 times, and I'm there. I'm sold, and I hope you are too. So go to thepanics.com. That's The Panics, P-A-N-I-X, so you can find the song and show them some love, because now they are officially the opening theme for the Reese on the Radio program as we begin our new venture here on WTIC News Talk 1080. I'm sure you heard about it. I want to thank Janine. I want to thank Stephanie. I want to thank Steve, Roland, of course, Joey, Matt, Brian, everybody here, even from the guys who used to be here who embraced me, from Pastor Will, Tom Shattuck, and, of course, Todd Feinberg, the reason why I'm here at this station, who introduced me to the station just based upon one phone call, him seeking me out. I wouldn't be here without every one of those people. They all play a huge role. If I forgot anyone, I doubt it. John Silver, and, of course, as well as Mark Christopher and Jason Caterina, who have done weather and traffic for me in the news while I've been here. These guys have been absolutely great in sort of being team players with me here. So I'm grateful. I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity. I know I'm rambling. I didn't really have a speech. I just wanted to make sure that I got the Panics out there. So get used to that. On the show today, we've got Ben Wetmore. He is the board president of Project Veritas. You know, we were talking about this last week. This is the story about Elvira Saeed and her daughter Eileen, who committed suicide last year. She was found dead at Rider University in New Jersey. The scandal that has emerged at the Metropolitan Community Church of Hartford. I want to talk to you about a conversation I had with Christine out of Middletown. It was brief. She may call in later so she and I can talk. She went to the Metropolitan Community Church this Sunday and confronted Reverend Allen. Reverend Miller. I'm saying Aaron. Reverend Miller. So hopefully Christine will call and talk about that conversation because, of course, it left more questions than there are answers. We got plenty of stuff to get into. So do not forget to thank Matt from Bristol. I thank all of you as well.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Listeners who have been so on board with this program. So stay tuned for that. Also, we're going to have the Panics on the program, if not this week, next. We'll probably do it Friday, since that's usually a layback day. You know, when we have ladies' nights with Roseanne, and Roseanne will, being there with me. Maybe we'll talk to Daniel and members of the band. I know we'll get Daniel here. He's already on board. But I want to get nothing against the rest of the guys, but I want to get D Snake on, because he's the bass player, and I want to talk to him because he's got a cool look. Go check them out as well. We have to talk about Governor Lamont and what's going on with progressives in the state of Connecticut and the election, or the primary election, just recently in New York. As I told you, that it was too close of an election or a primary to not affect Connecticut. And let me say this, that I know some diehard nutmeggers get upset at me saying this, but get used to it. Everyone knows it. It's an open secret. Connecticut, as far as politicians are concerned, has no identity and tends to borrow, if not steal a little of its identity from other progressive states, especially California, and then bringing up the rear is New York. So when that primary took place last Tuesday, what could you expect other than Connecticut, the progressives in Connecticut, to feel somewhat emboldened by Zohar Mandami's, I guess, upset of Andrew Cuomo? The establishment is on alert. And as much as Governor Lamont tries to play it off, and we'll read some of the pieces, some of the pull quotes from the Hartford Courant article on Sunday, he seems very, dismissive. Oh, it's to be expected. No real issue here. It's an issue. He can play it off, but it's an issue. And we'll lay into that. But Lamont doesn't seem to be alarmed at progressives coming for, politically, the establishment. Now, I got a lot of pushback when I said last week that Democrats refuse to acknowledge their socialist leanings or their socialism all over the place, that they are who they are. They have been sneaking it in, cloaking it, pretending it isn't real, but we've always known it. Why they run from it, I don't know. Probably because they've always believed that the American public will reject socialism. But those days are gone. Those days are gone. They have worked so hard in indoctrinating children from K through 12 to the halls of universities and colleges that the new batch of Democrats have fully embraced socialism, if not communism. They've made it chic. And the old guard that is concerned about what consultants tell them have tried to reject it. No, that's not us. We need to concern ourselves with the working class. While the people, the minions that they've taught, that they've raised them on socialist ideology. Again, dare I say, communist ideology. That was always the plan from Democrats. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Don't let them stand around and tell you, no, that's never what we taught them. That's bull. How do we know? Over 90% of college donations politically go to Democrats. Over 90% of invited speakers to colleges and universities are Democrats or people on the left. The most shouted down ideological bent on those universities are conservatives. We know that. Do you remember the days of Ann Coulter and Ben Shapiro having to be escorted out of colleges and universities with police? Yes, I know you did, even though MSNBC, CNN, and mainstream media barely covered it. The only reason why you know about it is because of outlets like Breitbart, because of outlets like the Daily Caller, because of outlets like the Drudge Report, which has since turned into a liberal maven. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, because of those alternative outlets, and of course, because of talk radio, of course, because of vanguard journalists and thought providers like Rush Limbaugh, Hugh Hewitt, Sean Hannity, Dana Loesch. Because of them, even me, small to some small degree. That's the reason why you know this. It has always been about promoting socialism. And 2015 was the moment. You remember the crowds Bernie Sanders got. He was absolutely, he was not shy about being a socialist. He was not shy about how he didn't know and didn't care what the banks did or got. That he was going to attack billionaires and millionaires, all in your face while becoming one. Remember, while Democrats are struggling, the man who is a Democrat socialist and owns 3 homes is running a campaign across the country so-called Fight the Oligarchy, and his people are still with him while he sits there at millionaire status. Really? The left is a socialist party. It is. Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Zohar Mamdani are an example, if not the rule, of where the Democrat Party is now. I'll show you much more when we get on the other side of this break, so don't go anywhere. You want to listen to every part of the next segment of this show where I break down the Democrat Party is going to become a socialist party, and rank-and-file Democrats are going to have to break off, like I said, the Whigs of the 1800s. We got more of that. We've got guests on the show. Ben Whitmore is joining us at 4:15 from Project Veritas. We got so much, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Plus your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. It's Reese on the radio. Whew, I'm loving this. At WTIC News Talk 1080.
Locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
And we're back with so much more to bring you than ever before. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC. Hartford Current. Liberal Democrats are angry and are no longer hiding it. Quote, there will be a challenger. Of course, this is in response to Connecticut Democrats being angry with Governor Lamont about a bill parts of bill that he vetoed. Says liberal Democrats have been grumbling about Democrat Governor Ned Lamont for more than a year regarding his opposition to tax hikes on Connecticut's richest residents and blocking more wide-scale loosening of the state's fiscal guardrails to allow more spending for progressive priorities. But the anger against Lamont suddenly overflowed last week with this high-profile veto of an affordable housing bill written by Democrats and his endorsement of former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the New York City's mayoral race. Now, first of all, that's phony. Because if Cuomo won, every one of these Democrats would have supported Cuomo. So spare me that nonsense. You would have supported any one of them. But you got Mamdani, which has a couple of people on their heels. There's no full-out endorsement of Mamdani. There are a couple of people who know that they may be affected by it. Kristen Gillibrand, who's just recently backtracked of Mamdani because she said that she was upset about him not condemning Palestinian protests in New York, so much as calling him somebody who is for the...
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I don't know, the attacks on Jews. I don't know whether or not this guy is for that. I don't care. I know who he is. What his thoughts are on Palestinian protesters don't mean anything. But I know why he says the certain things that he does. We'll get into that in a bit. But Governor Lamont should be worried that the progressives in Connecticut are going to oust him. Plenty of people feel that if he is going to run for re-election, he will be primaried. I was inclined to believe that Lamont would still run. I don't believe that so much today. Because we should really know by now. But I have a strange feeling he doesn't want to be primaried. So I don't believe he'll run. Does this give an opportunity to Republicans? People like Mayor Aaron Stewart? I don't know. I do not know. Because the question is whether or not progressives in Connecticut have as much of a stronghold on Connecticut that they did in this primary in New York. I don't really believe that. But let me play out this scenario for you just a little bit before I get to the audio sound bites. The separation between Lamont and Bob Stefanowski was 174,000 votes. If a progressive, like let's say Elliott, were to get in, running against a strong Republican, I don't know if Stewart's a strong Republican, but a reasonably strong Republican, the likelihood that the progressive loses is possible. It's feasible. Because I don't think that wealthy Connecticut's or wealthy nutmeggers will allow that to happen. Again, as I've said 3 years ago when I first got here, in fact, I said it back in 2022, Connecticut can afford its politics, but it can't afford progressive politics. It cannot. People will leave because they can. That's what a lot of people are talking about. They can leave Connecticut. Why bother to stay if it's only going to get worse? Connecticut shows its hands as a progressive state. It remains a progressive state. That's so far left, there is no coming back. Do you understand that? That would be the bridge too far. Republicans will have no wins here, and As far as the nutmeg state is concerned, you can figure it's a lost cause. It's a tax and spend state. It's a nanny state. It's everything that you would have had a nightmare about. And we'll know soon enough whether or not Connecticut is just that, or it's going to say, hold on, whoa. I don't know. Representative Josh Elliott, Deputy House Speaker, said that Lamont will definitely face a primary challenger from the left if no other candidate comes forward. Elliott implied that he would run in the same way he challenged then-sitting House Speaker Brendan Starkey in 2016. So again, it looks like it's not long for Lamont politically. They will pull out all the stops if they are planning on unseating him. Longtime leader who helped create the Progressive Caucus, Elliott, in the state House of Representatives, Elliott has already spoken to his colleagues to rally support for a primary. He says, quote, of the hundreds of conversations that I've had over the last couple of weeks, I cannot tell you a single person who is excited about another Ned term. Elliott also said not one person he doesn't realize how much people are struggling because just living in an alternate reality. So he's trying to convince people that things are better than they are because he might actually believe it. He is totally divorced from reality. So there will be a concerted effort to unseat him. I don't know if Lamont has that kind of fight in him, but if the headwinds say that the state has gone to the left and is joining, I guess, the political wing of the party that is, what Mondani's running on, yeah, it's a wrap. It's over. Does a Republican have a shot? Absolutely. But that relies on the wealthiest of people in Connecticut taking out that person. This is why they're concerned. And they're listening to polling data. This is Harry Enton of CNN talking about what polling data he's seen amongst Democrats when it comes to the old guard versus the new.
What should they take away is that the party leaders, Democrats who say they want to replace their party leaders, look at this, 62% nationally say yes compared to just 24% who say no. That lines up with the idea that Democrats view their own members of Congress, their own leaders in Congress, record low approval rating. Democrats right now are out for blood. They want to take out their party leaders. And you saw that with Andrew Cuomo going, adios, amigos, goodbye. See you later in New York this past Tuesday.
Now, 62% is an overwhelming majority, especially when you have in opposition to that just 26%. Just 26%. That is what we call a wrap. And if you are part of the old guard, sorry, Lamont, but you are, and Connecticut looks like it's going that way, which, again, as I said in the beginning, tends to lean to wherever their sister states are going, California and New York. I know people say, it's like, New York's not a sister state. Kinda. Because that's who they feed off of. Just is. At least the elected officials on the Democrat side do. You know I'm right. It doesn't matter. So all of that means something. Jamal Bowman is telling Democrats, get on board.
Do you think the Democratic Party is going to learn some lessons from this race?
I hope so. They got to. Everyone should get on board and endorse Zoran right now because our party, our approval numbers are 20-something%. We're on life support. We allowed Trump back in the office again, and our democracy is on the precipice of falling apart. The Democratic Party has to save American democracy. And leaning into Zoran and others who are stars in our party. We got a bunch of stars right here in New York. Shia Saig, Tiffany Caban, AOC, on and on and on. Uplift them. We have to bridge the gap, the generational divide. That's happening in the party. between the older, more establishment, and the younger. We have to bridge that gap to save our country.
And that desperation that Jamal Bowman is talking about will be the defining part of whatever happens in the future in Connecticut or any other state that may have to run a primary. As far as Democrats are concerned, 2026, 2028, it is how do we get rid of the old guard and go with the new? Jamal Bowman is saying they have to embrace the new breed. And socialism to them is not a dirty word.
The word socialism is weaponized as some kind of, anti-American thing. And, Senator Gillibrand and others seem to have fallen victim to that level of ignorance and miseducation.
Ignorance and miseducation. They're going to redefine the word socialism. That's what Democrats do. What do you think? I'm kidding? You don't think that the Democrats are going to redefine what socialism is? They redefine the word recession. Does anybody forget about that 2-3 years ago? They redefined the word recession. They redefined the word woman. They don't even know what it is anymore. Socialism will be redefined without a doubt. Soon it will be labeled as un-American to not accept it. That's what's going to happen in a minute. But if you really want to know, you want to hear it.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Let's take somebody who's desperate to get his numbers out of the toilet and to become the standard bearer for the Democrat Party. You know him. I know him. My good friend, Christoph Murphy.
Leaders Schumer and Jeffries have not endorsed Mr. Mamdani yet. Do you think they should?
Well, I guess I don't give recommendations to my colleagues. I'm going to support him. I'm going to support him, and I think the Democratic Party would be well served by learning from his focus on lowering costs. That was what got him this nomination win.
Christoph is going to support him? Of course he's going to support him. How do you expect him to save his political life? Get behind the young kids. Hey, even Christoph said about Bernie Sanders back in 2015, he said the Democrat Party should have embraced him. Well, they've got another shot at it, another crack at it. That's what Christoph's doing. Let's take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views, plus your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's Reese on the radio.
Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you.
On News Talk 1080, WTIC.
It's so typical. My chair got stuck. We're back. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC. Let me go to the phones real quick. Steve is in Springfield. How are you, sir? No?
Reese,
there he is. What's up, buddy?
My favorite pet peeve, democratic socialism. That is, what it is it's democracy, of political democracy, but it's socialism as far as economic, which is really neither, because when you don't have your rights, your life, your liberty, and your property, you don't have anything.
Right. Is it? Let me ask you this, Steve. Do you? Because when I hear democratic socialism in a very, I want to say it's sort of a base way, I find that it's sort of like socialism through mob rule, which is why they call it democratic socialism. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But what it is socialism is this whole thing is a lie. it's intellectually dishonest.
Of course.
You can't have democracy. And if you believe like Marcuse, that means that there's no such thing as individual property rights.
Right.
John
Exactly.
Locke said that you have to have life, liberty, and property.
Yes. And you know what? There are no limits to those things.
Yeah. It's a bunch of crap. Stalin called socialism communism for slow learners. like people
he
didn't
really
get what
did?
was going on until it was too late.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I like that.
Some of Stalin's quotes were something else. Our premier communist in this country, I don't know if you're familiar with the think tank that was in Nazi Germany that Hitler shut down, and they went to Columbia University in the United States.
No.
Oh yeah. That's why whenever I hear Columbia, a red light goes off.
Yeah.
And Marcuse, who was probably the most foremost American communist.
Yep.
And they don't sell his books at Barnes and Noble.
Nope.
But I've got 8 of his books from used bookstores.
Really?
Try to stop me.
Hey, listen, you're never going to know what they're doing unless you read what they're saying. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. Marcuse was a piece of work. He was part of the Communist Party in Germany. And I'll tell you, that word Antifada sounds an awful lot like the word Antifa, which was the name for the Communist Party in Germany.
It's interesting. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Steve.
Oh, yeah, believe me, there's a lot more where this came from. I'll be talking to you.
You got it, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, look, speaking of the Intifada, we'll get into that, too, because we've got to talk more about Zoran. What do I call him? Zohan? Did you not like when I called him Zohan, Donald? I don't care. I told you, if I didn't make this clear, what was it, Brian Shackman said to me the other day, I was trying to pronounce, what's her name, Johanna Hayes, and he corrected me. He was like, wow, you really don't care about pronouncing these people's names right. I went, no, I don't. I don't care. I mean, call it a slight. I don't care. Like, make a big deal out of it. You know, what do you? I'm racist because I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Whatever. I guess that's what I'm going to be. We got to take a break. Oh no, we don't. We have still a couple of minutes. Let me go. You know what? I got Jim in Wallington. Let's go to Jim. Hey, Jim.
Okay, real quick. I know you're up against the break.
That's okay.
How far left can Connecticut go? You don't have to match up Connecticut with California or with New York. Why don't you just take a look at what's going on in Massachusetts?
Oh yeah.
Then you can go ahead. Yeah.
No. I was going to say that. Look, if I keep looking at the model of Connecticut, they are openly hostile to being or even mirroring what works in conservative states or conservative jurisdictions. They glom onto California ideas no matter how bad it gets. Just 2 years ago, we had a governor in Lamont who was, adamant about bringing that EV mandate to the state of Connecticut, no matter how bad it was looking in that state, no matter how much people were leaving.
We got a part of that when the state of Connecticut got involved with this offshore windmill fiasco, which cost the Connecticut taxpayer through their electric bill and other places how much money every month out of their electric bill, and of course their taxes. You know, we can go on and on with this, and I'll close with this. You heard me say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Every time you bring up Murphy's name, if I get on the air, you're going to hear me say this. He's a third-rate politician inside his own party who not even the progressives would agree with on anything. They'll let him go out there and carry some crazy message. But at the end of the day, go ahead.
No, you're so true. Because that's why when I saw him on Meet the Press, and although he wouldn't give advice to his own party and his own party leadership, could not hesitate to support Mondami because, again, in an effort to be relevant, he'll glom onto anything. Just anything.
Anything. If you told him that Burger King was, he'd log on to Burger King if you told him that the Burger King was some kind of prominent socialist running for some kind of office. That's all I got to say.
You got it, Jim. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, again, it's absolutely insane. I've got so much of this Zoran. Is that how I pronounce it, Donald? Zoran? Zohran Mamdani, I got so much of this guy's audio to break down, of course, with companion audio as well, but you need to hear it all. We'll break it down, plus your phone call, so stick around. Don't miss it. Also, we've got Ben Wetmore, the board president of Project Veritas, joining us at 4:05, 4:10 in a little bit. Now it's time to get to news at the top of the hour with John Silva in the WTIC newsroom.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
We got headlines coming up in a second, and I'll do that shortly. Christine in Middletown is on the phone, but I want to hold on because I don't want to get her in too early. Christine, stay on the line. Stay where you are if you can. I'm going to keep you in at least to the next break so that I can talk to you about you going to the Metropolitan Community Church of Hartford. So stand by on the line unless you want to call back in about 20, 30 minutes after the next half hour so I can spend some time with you because I got a bunch of other stuff to get into. Let's go to Matt in Bristol real quick. How are you, Matt?
Hello, Mr. Hopkins. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Tom.
Well, first of all, I didn't think I'd have to tell you this, but you know you don't mess with the Zohan, right?
I know. Yes, I think about it every time I say it, but I try not to bring it up because it's one of my least favorite Adam Sandler films. But yes, I was thinking it every time I say his name. You don't mess with the Zohan. And for those of you who've seen it, it's awful. But, look, with all of that, you know that I said last week that primary was going to resonate with Connecticut, that Democrats were going to feel emboldened by that outcome. And I think that they're wrong, but I think that I'm right in the sense that they believe that they've got some political comeback with this guy.
Well, I'm going to tell people, this is how I look at socialist, communist, and it's basically a pyramid scheme. So if the government comes in and they take all the money from innovators and business leaders and everything, they're going to have a bunch of money to distribute around.
Right.
But only for a few years.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Then the money starts to dry up because if you take all the money from the innovators, they're going to stop innovating. And the money dries up. And the next thing you know, the only people that have money are the people that you elected.
Right.
And then you're in a real pickle, aren't you?
It's absolutely right. You've got nothing to stand on. Look, maybe there isn't a sense of the long term. Everybody's playing the short game. Let's annihilate those people. Now, I think, to be honest with you, I don't think this is about redistribution of wealth. What I do think this is about is destroying anyone with it. That's what I think it is. I think that this is about destroying any wealth or anyone who's trying to obtain it in this country because they deem that as evil.
But doesn't it always seem funny to you how the people that with millions of dollars will say the people with billions of dollars are evil?
Yeah.
And then the people with a couple 100,000 will say, well, those millionaires are evil. And, down the line, it never ends.
Yes. It's usually sort of like the social bitterness of the elite class. I don't understand it, but that's how they go. Thank you, Matt, as always, sir. It's always a pleasure to be with all of you. You have no idea. I appreciate it. But now let's get to some headlines. I don't know if you heard this. The son of a Connecticut lawmaker was arrested in connection with a recent missing person complaint of a 15-year-old girl. The son of the Connecticut State Representative Chris Anauskovich, who represents Connecticut 35 District, which includes Clinton, Westbrook, and Killingworth, has been arrested in connection with a recent missing persons complaint in West Haven, according to police. The arrest comes after a silver alert was issued on June 21st for a 15-year-old girl who was missing from the West Haven, but the girl's family announced on Tuesday that she was found safely and was on her way home thanks to the actions of a local and federal law enforcement, so they both got involved, and an outpouring of support from the public. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has finally come forward and spoken out about her suburban high school yearbook pick, but still continued to dodge her Westchester County upbringing. As you may know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calls herself a girl from the Bronx, but she's not. She's from a town at least an hour north called Yorktown Heights, where she went to public school and high school before she ended up going to, I believe, Boston University in Massachusetts. She was never a girl from the Bronx. She put out a tweet the other day that says, "I'm proud of how I grew up and talk about it all the time." Yeah, right. She said, "My mom cleaned houses and I helped. We cleaned tutors' homes in exchange for SAT prep. Growing up between the Bronx and Yorktown deeply shaped my views of inequality. It's a big reason I believe the things I do today," which means that she grew up in Yorktown Heights with a bunch of other liberals who were ashamed of their own wealth and in trying to help the downtrodden pretended that they cared so they can pat themselves on the back while they stood on the backs of others. You know the deal. Anyway, the DOJ this afternoon announced the takedown of the largest Medicaid health insurance fraud in American history. Some $14 billion was apparently being stolen by actors, domestic and foreign. So far, they have arrested physicians who were involved with the stealing of over 1 million Americans' identities. These criminals didn't just steal someone else's money. They stole from you with every fraudulent claim. That came from Dr. Oz, I believe, who was at the press conference today. So with this happening with the big, beautiful bill being argued in the House right now, or in Congress right now, it's interesting that very few people covered this huge story today with billions of dollars being stolen by physicians as well as other people who were taking money. I mean, one particular group, I think, took close to $100 million. They were lying about medical treatment. Some of the cases where they were saying they were treating one person in Georgia while treating another person in Nevada on the same day at the same time. One physician was able to bill catering to two patients at the same time in two different locations across the continent, which is wild. In other news, it appears that President Trump is going to be backing a bill written by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, I don't know how far this is going to go in the House, but I can imagine this is going to be the next big debate. And look out for it. If indeed President Trump is thinking about passing it and Marjorie Taylor Greene gets some backers. This new bill would exclude illegal immigrants from the census. And once it was a law, the U.S. Census Bureau would be required to conduct a new census immediately. And this would affect seats in the House. Because, again, if the illegals are not counted in the census, right? I mean, that's a huge deal. Again, this is the first words I'm hearing of it. It's barely breaking news, but there is rumbling that Marjorie Taylor Greene is working on a bill like that. So we'll see whether or not that actually gets any traction. But that would be huge. Damn, that would be huge. Our top story today, talking about liberal Democrats who are angry at Governor Lamont because of a couple of bills that he vetoed, one in which was giving unemployment to striking workers, which I don't even understand why he would think that was a good idea, or why anybody thought that he would pass or he would sign that bill. But, okay, fine. Here's where we are. But let's get into this thing with Mamdani. And here's where Democrats may be supportive of him because this guy is the perfect foil for them to support things that they couldn't outright say themselves. They can always leave him holding the bag. That's the whole idea. You get this guy to play the role. You don't full out endorse him, but you quietly cheer him on. Nudge, nudge, to your compadres, to the donors, nudge, nudge, let's make this guy, let's make him happen. Or they say, we got to get rid of this guy. I believe in the latter. But there are a few things that people need to consider with Mamdani. This one in particular, he was asked to respond to this about going after wealthier Americans, more so whiter ones.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
Because the white man is evil, and he got all the money. The white man is evil. He got all the money. He got all the nice houses. He got the safer neighborhoods, and he should have to pay more. White man is evil. And oh, hell, he's just rich. Come on, I'm Muslim. You're a black woman, Them white people got it all. I'm sick of them having it. It's time to take them down. Take everything they got. I'm just pointing out that they're white, and they have everything. So they must pay. How dare they get rich and get wealthy and take care of their families and keep their neighborhood safe and have parks and recreations and go to Disney World whenever they want. We got to punish them. Don't you understand? Now, under any other circumstance, if this were the other way around, Kristen Welker would be condemning him. What's this thing about black folks? What are you, a racist? Do you party with the KKK? No, she deals with him with delicate hands. What's this about? Zoran, whatever the hell your name is. What's this about? Huh? Did you have to inject race? Can you explain it to us so that we understand?
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes.
Do you hear that? She's helping him explain what he wrote in his policy platform on his website. You ever known Kristen Welker to give you that kind of a hand ever? Have you ever known her to do that? Oh, I get it. So you're saying it's not because they're white. It's because of something deeper, like they're white. And they happen to have all the money.
And yet, by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
Yeah, because there's a possibility that people see you as a racist and you'll lose. Do you understand that? Don't you see that you might want to tone it down? You can't just bring up the white people that have all the money. People may feel alienated. What about white people who feel like they're now being alienated and they don't want to support you? Don't you think you should change it up? Oh, and by the way, folks, I wish I was kidding. Listen, Kristen Welker pretty much says exactly that.
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now, what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right.
So no plans on changing on the website? Nudge, nudge. No, absolutely not. I think that as a Muslim man, I think I can call out the white people who have all the money. I think as a Muslim man, I can say whatever I want to. The whitey can't, but I can. Because not because of reverse racism. It's because you guys aren't going to hold me to account. You'll question me here and there, but we all know that white people are evil if they have money. That's all. That's what it is, right? You don't believe that? Let's go one step further. I wonder how he feels about people with a lot of money. Let's say billionaires.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality.
Oh, what a funny question, Kristen Welker. I don't think that we should have billionaires with so much money. So that's like asking the question, do you believe that Israel deserves to exist? I don't think that we should have an Israel. Come on. That's not an answer. I don't think with a world full of inequality, we shouldn't have billionaires. Sounds like an admission to me. That's what that sounds like.
And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Meaning I will work with billionaires to tell them that I'm coming to take all of their money. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work really, really hard with the billionaires and make them, soften up to the idea of giving up all of their wealth so that others can have it in such a time of inequality. But this is my favorite one. And this goes to show you that no one over at Meet the Press, not even the producers, the fact checkers, the research guy, these guys don't do their jobs. Kristen Welker knows that Mondami wants to create a government grocery store. Tim called here last week and said he only wants to build one. No, it's more than one, Tim.
When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would...
What's that, Tim? I can't hear you. I apologize, Reese. Oh, I accept your apology.
Cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting.
Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Zohran Mondami is lying. We have not seen a government grocery store work in Kansas. Is that what he said, Kansas or Kentucky? Where was it? I'm almost certain he said Kansas.
That they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting.
So we asked AI, is there a government grocery store in Kansas? AI responded, Reese, good-looking guy. No, you said that. There are several government-owned, community-supported grocery stores in Kansas, primarily in small rural towns aimed at addressing food access issues. Here are some examples. Erie Market in Erie, Kansas. The city purchased Erie Market in 2020 to prevent its closure, as it was the only grocery store in a town of about 1,000 people. The store has struggled financially, losing $132,000 in 2022, with only one profitable month, largely due to competition from nearby Walmart and Dollar General. In 2024, the city leased the store to River Grocery LLC to reduce financial strain while keeping it operational. The store relies on community support, including volunteer labor and donations. So here he is saying that we've seen this work in Kansas, but he didn't mention that it's failed, and that failure happened in 2022. With only 1 month of profitability, somebody had to step in and rescue. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's reckless. And no one on Meet the Press, knowing that he wants to build these grocery stores. People have been talking about it for weeks, okay? He ran on that platform. Nobody had that up the bat. Nobody had that on cue. Because they don't want it to be. They don't want it to be on cue. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got bottom of the hour news with John Silva coming up, and we'll return. Don't go anywhere. It's Reese on the Radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Life insurance. Why are you...
Stay locked in. Reese on the Radio is on WTIC. News Talk 1080.
I just want to give a quick shout out. That's why I said breaking news. That right there is a new intro to the Reese on the Radio program. I want to give a shout out to Mike Ponce, a guitar player right there. Holding up the wall. Make sure you go give them some love. That's the Panics. Of course, I'm wearing a t-shirt today. P-A-N-I-X, the Panics. Great name, great shirt, and I have to admit, I look fantabulous in it. If you want to see that, go to reasonoradio.com. That's reasonoradio.com. Go check out the lyrics. Show them some love. Download the song. This was like 99 cents, but $1, whatever. Show them some love. Show Reese on the Radio some love. It is the official sound of the Reese on the Radio program. We'll get to Christine in a second. We'll get into a whole bunch of this stuff with Mondami. There's so much stuff I didn't get into, like Globalize the Intifada, his deal with that. I do want to say this on the Globalize the Intifada thing. You know what? Maybe I should save it. What the hell? Globalize the Intifada. I didn't know this, and you may not either. Do you know there are two meanings to it? As many people have argued, including Mondami. He says that globalize the Intifada means different things to different people. Well, it does not mean different things. Well, actually, maybe that's accurate because it's only two. So I would say different things to different people is only subject to two different interpretations. Let's break them down. According to the first Intifada, between 1987 and 1993, that was largely a grassroots movement involving protest, civil disobedience, and some violence, including stone throwing and strikes against Israeli control of the West Bank and Gaza Strip, which led to the Oslo Accords. Then there is the second Intifada. That took place between 2000 and 2005. Their definition, not mine, a more violent uprising marked by suicide bombings, armed attacks, and Israeli military responses sparked by tension over the Al-Aqsa Mosque and failed peace talks. So when someone says to you, like Mondami, that it means different things to different people, when you hear people say globalize the Intifada, ask them which one. They are clearly defined as two separate uprisings. One in the 90s, late 80s to early 90s, and one in the early 2000s. Which Intifada are you trying to globalize? I think it's a fair question, now that we know, right? Anyway, with that, as I told you earlier, Christine in Middletown went to the Metropolitan Community Church of Hartford, which is the church in question with regards to the Project Veritas story. We'll talk to Ben Wetmore, the board of Project Veritas, in a little bit. He'll be calling up the show. But let's get a follow-up from Christine in Middletown. So, Christine, you went to the church Sunday, I presume?
Yes, I've been going there for the last few months. But I just want to mention something quick. I don't know if you heard tonight at 6 at the Parkville Market in Hartford, on the other side of town from MCC, there's a rally in support of and celebration of Zoran Mondami's than the primary.
So there's a rally in support of Zoran Mondani happening on the other side of Hartford?
Yes, at Parkville Market at 6 tonight.
That's interesting. Okay, now, so you went to the church. You've been going there for a couple of months, and you had an exchange with the Reverend Aaron Miller.
Yes, I've known Pastor Miller for ever since I've been out 6 years ago.
Okay.
I brought a friend who I think she might have called the show, but I know she's called Tom and Gary for the few years on and off. This was last week before the fan.
You're breaking up a lot, Christine. You may have to get stationary. You're sounding very garbled, so we're missing a lot of the stuff that you're saying. Is there any way that you can sort of try again? Let's see if we can. There you go.
Is this a little better?
Yes, much better. So, okay, so you get, after the service, I presume you spoke to Reverend Miller.
It was before the service.
Oh, really?
First of all, there was police there. They had police, so I had a friend that wanted to go, and I had to vouch for her. If you were a first-time visitor, you wouldn't be let in yesterday.
Really? So now they have police stationed at the church?
This was yesterday, so I don't know if this is a one-time thing.
Interesting.
On an average Sunday, Reese, if you set an over-under number of what you think the average attendance would be, I would bet the under. And on a normal Sunday.
So talk to me a little bit about your exchange with the Reverend.
Okay, this was, I came out of the facility when we got there, and he was getting ready, and he asked me what's going on, what I heard. I told him, I got to be honest on both things, things you might like.
Christine, I'm sorry. I apologize. We're going to take so much away from you. It's just not clear. If you're driving for some odd reason, it's taking away from every other word that you're saying, and it just sounds very, very cloudy. I'm sorry. I can't. Is there any way you can call me back when you're stationary just so we can hear you? Because I literally can't make out a word you're saying.
Okay, I'll call back, and I'm due at my next stop in about 10 minutes. So
Okay, you got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just don't want anything to get lost in there. I apologize about that, guys. Radio, see to your pants sometimes, so you have to do what you got to do. So back to this Mondani thing. Okay, I'm going to look up this I guess, I don't know, celebration of Mondani. It's going to be happening in Hartford. Look, I'm sorry, folks, this is crazy. Why would Connecticut embrace this guy? And who's going to be there? Who are the speakers that are going to be there? I know the usual progressive yahoos are going to be there. I get it. But don't you want to know who your progressive politicians who are going to be there to support him, who possibly speak at this rally in Connecticut? Because if that's not telling you something about this state and where it wants to go. And look, let me put it this way, and I'll go to Frank real quick. As much as we can enjoy the infighting in the Democrat Party, and we can make fun of that all day, but if they really do have the momentum that they think that they do, it will be exactly what I thought 2015 or 2016 was supposed to be. A defining line between who we were as a country. Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. The socialist versus the businessman. This, God, I'm saying it tongue-in-cheek, but some of you who get what I'm saying will understand. It's kind of like prophecy for America and its standing. Is it not? Like, do we remain the country, the experiment, if we have socialism versus capitalism, if that's the next election? Will 2028, let's say Gavin Newsom, nope, nothing. Right? We don't get, what's her name? Gretchen Whitmer. Pete Buttigieg, not going to happen. They don't care about identity politics. No one cares if you're black. No one cares if you're a woman. No one cares if you're gay. They care about socialism versus capitalism. In 2028, that's it. You know, like the South Park at the end was like, Canada and the United States, all they need to do is to go to war and then Satan will rise. It's kind of that thing, right? This election of 2028 gets to define who we are as a country. Will it be as razor thin as the 2000 election? Bush v. Gore. Would it be? I mean, it's reasonable to think that. These elections have been close. But it really does. I mean, Kamala Harris, although she lost, only lost by a couple million. There were a lot of people who didn't show up. A lot. Overwhelmingly, women, black women in particular, voted for people like Kamala Harris. Sure, Donald Trump was able to get black males. Sure, Donald Trump was able to get, Hispanic males. But once Donald Trump is out of the picture, which will be the case in 2028, if J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio do become the candidate, and it's very, very likely it will be, if not one of them, both of them on a ticket, do they have what it takes, the gravitas that Donald Trump has, the political will to bring in that coalition again, if not more so? That's all I'm saying. It's like, how likely? Let's take Frank real quick before we go to break. How are you, sir?
Good. A couple of things. One, Chris Murphy, your buddy, called the big, beautiful bill a moral abomination. No, Mr. Murphy. A moral abomination is abortion, the LGBTQIA. This bill is a joke. The Senate version is going to add more to the deficit than the House bill. I mean, these guys don't know how to add, do they? It's amazing to me.
Yeah, but, this is one of those things, Frank. Let me ask you this, because I know that you're an opponent to this bill. And look, under normal circumstances, I would be opposed to it as well. But let me tell you where my biggest problem is. The tax hike that's going to happen if it doesn't go through. That is far more dire to people who are alive. Because people always say, oh, we're kicking the can down the road. Yes, but people live today.
They do. They don't think of tomorrow. But I told everybody over the weekend, Reese, there's only one thing in America that's big and beautiful, and that's me. A second, you're not going to believe this. In Great Britain, which used to be an empire, remember? Listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
They have what they call a no-Jew zone. That's right. A no-Jew zone.
Wait, now?
In Great Britain. It's right there in Great Britain.
Oh.
It's right before... Yes, look it up. It's right before a Muslim neighborhood. If you were a Jew and go in that neighborhood, well, God help you.
This is, right. No. Now, hold on, because there's a very, very important context that you're giving in that. It's because this was something that was poo-pooed for about 10 years, that there were called no-go zones for police in these Muslim areas inside of Great Britain. And now they are calling them, no Jews allowed, because that these areas have become so prominent with Muslim folks. They have attacked Jews within that region, and they tell people that if you're Jewish, to stay out of them. The only reason why I know that is because my ex-wife, who is Jewish, goes back and forth between there and France all the time. She tells me about this. She goes, yes, it's one of the most dangerous places to go as a Jew.
It is, in the world.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And these people weren't even in Great Britain 10 years ago. And one more other thing, I might have to go back to those black neighborhoods if they're going to tax these white neighborhoods. Hey, listen, I had a great time with those people. Yeah. I told you, we were poor, but we ate like kings.
Yeah, indeed you did. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you, sir. I got to take a break. Let's get to another break. Yeah, my ex-wife told me about them. She said it's scarier. She said it was scarier there than it was during the pro-Palestine riots in New York. She told me that recently. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get Christine on the line when we return. Don't go anywhere. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Reese on the Radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. We got Christine again in Middletown, and we also got Ben Wentmore, the board president of Project Veritas, joining us in about 15 minutes, so we'll get to him soon. So Christine was stating, okay, so she spoke to Reverend Aaron Miller before church on Sunday at the Metropolitan Community Church of Hartford. Go ahead. So you went to see him, and what happened?
He asked me what I knew about, if I knew about the story. I go, yes. Now, I'll say this, a lot of church people didn't know until he talked about it happening. On Saturday, I happened to make a personal Facebook post about, it was the anniversary of my suicide attempt, and someone that goes to the church commented on it, and I messaged them asking if they knew that, Aaron's okay, and they go, why? What's going on? I'm like, oh, I didn't spill the beans. I said, well, given the political climate we're in.
Right.
So, this stuff that Project Veritas claims to the church doesn't happen through the church. Remember, he's also the chaplain of the Yale Gender Clinic.
Yes.
I'm sure there's involvement with the Q plus or P flag possibly.
Right.
So in Connecticut. So and I said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, sir. I go, you know me. I'm not one to advocate medical transition, and anything has to be done with the consent of parental knowledge and consent. And I said I was a little harder about Tony because he was on a Zoom meeting in Guilford Human Rights Commission, and he slandered me on it.
And what was Pastor Miller's or Reverend Miller's answer to the fact that you were concerned about this advocating for these procedures on children? Or
he said it was a binder. We gave a binder out,
which is illegal.
And a binder is a piece of clothing. It got me thinking, oh my God, what if I gave a gaff, which is for a trans girl, which is a thong you would wear to smooth out your front. I wonder, oh my God, I never did that.
But you're not supposed to listen. According to
I'm thinking, you're not trying to hurt the kids. I know that you have their best interests, but we can't supersede parentals. We're not a wedge for parents and their children.
Did he have a response for that?
And he goes, I got their best interest. I go, I know that. But you know what? When I was getting to the service, I got to tell them, like, please, we cannot come between the parents, Reese. You know that. I know that.
Yeah, I think
somehow, I think they are in I don't know what.
No, I'm just going to say, Christine, I think that, look, I understand this is somebody that you know, and you're a little personally attached to it. That's not a criticism. It's just an acknowledgement of what that is. But the bottom line is, before we go to break, I just want to let you know that because he doesn't want to harm children doesn't mean that he isn't. Because, again, his advocacy is for this policy and for the people who want to sort of join that realm. And I don't think he has the best interest. I think he has more interest to the agenda than he does to the children who may be harmed by it. But that's just my saying. I'm going to meet with him and make sure that I do. Now that I know he's going to church, I will go there and I will ask that to at least meet with him. But I'll talk to you more about it off the air, and we'll see if we can get a meeting of the minds between him and myself, because he's got to answer to this. But we'll follow up. Thank you, Christine. We'll get into so much more of that with Ben Wentmore, because he is going to tell me more about what's going on with the news media and this story as well. All right, but it's time for traffic. Our first look at traffic and weather. Let's get to Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. How are we doing, sir? Well, happy Monday.
I'm doing well, same.
Hey, we're back. It's Reese on the radio. And as usual at this time, we announced the winner of our dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe. They have locations in South Vernon, in Manchester, and in South Windsor, and Vernon and Manchester. I know better than that. Anyway, they also got smoothies, so make sure you check them out. Between Rounds. If you want to win a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, you got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com in order to apply. You must live in the state of Connecticut, and you cannot have won within the last 6 months in order to win. So go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE ontheradio.com in order to apply. And we would like to say congratulations to John G. of Wallingford. He is now our recent recipient. So again, go to reeseontheradio.com. Lori is going crazy inside the chat room. She's great. I love Lori. She's one of my favorite people. And I will say research specialist on the, I want to call her recon specialist on Reese on the Radio. We always appreciate her. So when we get back, we've got Ben, and I'm always forgetting his name, Wetmore, right? Ben Wetmore. He is the board president of Project Veritas. He is going to talk about everything they have tried to do to get attention to Elvira and Eileen Said's story. Elvira, as you may know, is the mom who has come forward to talk about her daughter, Eileen, who was transitioning, decided that she wanted to become a boy. And the details that we found out about this case, I'll tell you, because Project Veritas didn't report on it, but Elvira, who has a X handle called True Teller 2024. True Teller 2024. She breaks down her daughter's case and her story. And from what we understand, that her daughter Eileen once walked 11 miles to get to a treatment center, and they knew about it. And they still didn't inform her mother that this young lady was desperate. And many people have reported that they were cautious about whether or not she would be suicidal, and still did not report it, kept her mother out of the loop. So we'll talk to Ben Wetmore, board president of Project Veritas, about that and so much more on what they've done and the response that they're getting. Let's get another check of our weather and traffic, because Jason Caterina has got your weather, and Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Mark, I don't know if you know this, but today is officially my first day.
Officially?
Yeah, even though I've been here for the last year, I am official now. I'm no longer filling in. This
like the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is really
wow. Well, congratulations.
Well,
I'm glad you're officially here now.
It kind of felt like that the whole time, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I'm glad it's official.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Hope you have a long run here at the 50,000-watt flamethrower WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Well, I guess that they bowed out. That's weird. Or maybe he totally forgot that he was supposed to be on. So we've got no Ben Wetmore from the board of Project Veritas. And I just tried to call my contact, and all of a sudden his phone, I can't reach him for, I don't get this. I'm always going to be outraged by this. And call me crazy, but these advocacy groups, whatever you're doing, your 501c3s who get donations and stuff, what is with this hiding your telephone number? What is this with not having a point of contact? What is that about? And if it's about death threats, get a spine. Somebody calls you with a death threat, report it, move on. If people are calling you, hey, man, I'm going to do something bad to you. They're not going to do something bad to you. Somebody wants to do something bad to you, they don't telegraph it. This is what I used to, look, call me a little crazy. I'm going to tell a tale out of school. And not that I'm scrambling. I'm mad at this. I'm ticked off at it because I've been promoting it since last week. And when people don't come through or follow through, that's just an annoyance of mine. I don't like unreliable people. I'll talk about that with my sponsor. But this, you don't tell people what you're going to do. You don't telegraph it unless you're going to do it. Just do it. I used to get into these arguments with guys, and they would always say what they were going to do physically. Man, you keep talking, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm like, I would have just punched you in the face. I'd have never warned you. Like, if that was my intent, I would have never said, incoming. It's not me. It's just not me. I don't know who these people are who have to send a telegram. Say, knock on the door. Hey, yes, Reese will be here in 15 minutes to punch you in the face. Oh, no, he's quite prompt, sir. He'll be here in exactly 15 minutes. I don't do that. But just these people, like, what are you afraid of? Everybody's getting rid of their telephone numbers. Everybody's scared to death. Like, what is that about? If you stand by what you believe in, right, and it's always these very shady folks who have shady practices, who always have to work under the cover of darkness. Send me an email. We might respond. Get some guts. If you believe in what you believe in, you should be able to do it with your chest pumped and proud. But nobody's got a phone number. I can't trust people who don't have a phone number. Just can't. Anyway, moving right along. It's just annoying. Anyway, if I have to, I'll get back to this Zohan Mandani thing, because that seems to be the story everybody's talking about. And that is this idea that the left, or Democrats for that matter, have figured it out. That what they were doing before was not being clean about their socialist leaning, about what Americans really wanted was free stuff. And that's how we've lost our way, according to Democrats. And seeing Mandani beating somebody like Andrew Cuomo has now suggested, oh, there it is, the secret sauce. We needed a Muslim rapper who's going to give away free buses and freeze rent in the city and go after white folks. That's what it is. Mind you, they've been doing this forever. Hasn't it always been about that? Do people forget the Obama administration was going after suburban white neighborhoods politically and through legislation? Well, it wasn't really through legislation, but he was going after white neighborhoods. Does anybody not know that? Let me give you a little history lesson. Barack Obama openly hated the suburbs, hated them. He and his acolytes thought that people who went to the suburbs were abandoning the city so they could cling on to their money and take care of it, keep their neighborhood safe, and not have to deal with the city life, as it were. He condemned that. He did. Anyone who's a follower or a person who understands who Barack Obama is during his second, I'm almost certain that part of it was in his first administration, but definitely in his second administration, that's what he was focused on, going after suburbanites, people who left the city, who had bought a home, had 2.5 kids and a dog, maybe drove a Subaru, or had one fancy sports car because they had earned it. They had worked really hard to move away from the city and get their kids good care, either in schools or at daycare centers. He hated that. He also hated anybody who was, quote unquote, Americana. Remember, people who glom onto their religion and guns, their First Amendment rights? Those things he had issues with. He took issues with that. Anybody remember the case against Hobby Lobby? Do you forget about that? He didn't think that they had a standing on their religious beliefs. He didn't believe it. When it came to his Affordable Care Act, then he thought that Hobby Lobby, a Christian organization, founded in Christian ideology, should pay for their employees' contraception. He said to hell with that. He ignored their religious rights. And then had the audacity to be outraged that it lost, that Hobby Lobby won in court. Anybody remember that? I do. It was always there. People chose to ignore it. People called it either blasphemy or rancor or vile rhetoric to say that he was an Alinskyite, knowing damn well he was. That he was a member of this group, some symposium in Chicago, where he was the guest speaker talking about Alinsky. To the point, folks, and you can look this up. You don't have to worry about me telling you any lies. This is an opportunity for you to do the legwork. Don't leave me to do it. The woman who has the actual tape of the event refuses to give it up because she knows what's on it. She could do it now. It wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt anything. He's already been the president of the United States. But the woman who actually has the videotape of Barack Obama at a Saul Alinsky, a symposium or some lecture, won't give up the tape. Why? Because it would have proved what everybody already knew. And right now we're at a point where Democrats are trying. They're holding on so much. They're holding on to dear life. Scared to death. And it's like, I'll put it to you this way. It's like Democrats are holding on to two different polls. And I'm not talking about like voting polls. I'm talking about like not polling data, like actual polls. And they're stretched between the two. And one is on the left and the other one's on the far left. And as that far left one becomes more and more extreme, Democrats who have something to lose, like elections, are trying to hold on to that far left base because they know they need them during come election day. So they're trying really hard to like say the right things. Chris Murphy, what is a woman? Well, it depends on who thinks that they might be a woman. I don't know. I have sons. That's the kind of thing. It's like not being able to come up with a definitive answer because you're trying to hold on to that radical base. Because what happens if you let it go? What happens if you denounce it? It's not so much about being canceled. It means they won't vote for you. It means you're out there on an island and you have to fairly compete against a Republican. Because that's what will happen. They just won't show up. They will hang Chris Murphy out to dry. They're going to do the same thing with Lamont. They're going to hang him out to dry. And moderates are going to have to decide, right? Where the moderates sit. They're in a worse position ever. Because the moderates who hate Republicans, anybody who stands with or even remotely shows some sort of semblance to Trump, can't have them in power. So they have to cede ground to their progressive base, their radical leftist base. They have to. They are slaves to them. And they should be cool with that. That's the reason why they want illegal immigration, right? That whole slavery thing, they're cool with that. You know, the new slavery. So while they're fighting for slaves to come across the southern border, the progressive Democrats have their slaves in the moderate wing of the party who have to do everything that power group has. And they know they have the power. They'll simply tell their groups, nope, hang them out to dry. Just let a Republican take over. They'll learn the next election. And when the next election comes over and the Republicans there, the moderates will come around and the progressives will knock on the door and say, hey, progressives, hey, remember, we've got another progressive candidate over here. Yeah, he's communist. Whew. This guy makes Stalin look like a capitalist. Yeah, we're going to need you to vote for him. We can get you another Republican if you'd like. What you going to do? And look, no offense. I've said this a long time ago. Moderates, with all due respect, everybody knows you're wimps. Everybody knows you don't have a backbone. The only thing that motivates you is your hatred for the other side. You're willing to change your position at any, like literally, you have no spine. You will go anywhere for anything. You will go along to get along. It's the reason why you're a moderate. What they should call you are malleable. You're like silly putty, Play-Doh. You'll do whatever it takes. Even if it's those whack jobs, they will make you pick the most radical wing of your party because they know that you hate the other side. And you've only got one choice. Gosh, is it like the African-American vote back in the early 2000s where they either vote for the Democrat or don't show up? Will that be the case? Maybe. Moderates, the new black. Who'd have thought that? That's what it sounds like. That's just me. That's just me. They're all going to go, all of you are going to fall by the wayside. That's okay. Like I said, many of us are sitting by laughing at this going, whoo, infighting, it's worth the price of admission. But you also have to ask yourself, what have they got left? This is a desperate time for them. And if they're really that angry, those people who you see out protesting, screaming and hollering about everything they're told to, hate Donald Trump, hate Elon Musk, hate the big, beautiful bill, if they're willing to do whatever it is that they're told and they realize that the progressive wing of their party has the control, who do you think they'll side with? Do you think they'll side against their own best interest? Do you think they'll side against their own neighborhoods? Do you think they'll side against their own capitalist wealth? Yes. The answer is yes. They're sitting by there right now. I know they're listening. Not one of them is shaking their head no. They hate Trump too much. We've seen it over and over again. How many people who have destroyed their lives because of their hatred for Donald Trump? How many of them have gone out on a limb, said something stupid, tried to assassinate him, said something ridiculous online, called for his assassination in public forums, who destroyed their own livelihood because of their hatred? Huh? They are willing to commit hara-kiri on their livelihood to hate him. It's an easy pick for them to go with the progressives. I'm just saying. Watch me work. When we get back, stupidest thing I read today. You like Trader Joe's? One town is going to get a bunch of Trader Joe's when we return. Let's get some weather and traffic. Of course, in bottom of the hour news with John Silva. Jason Catarinas has got weather, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
News Talk 1080.
I keep wondering whether or not I should send a very, very angry worded letter or email to Project Veritas. Like I said, I don't understand it. Never, ever has anybody ever done that to me. Never. Never. Not after all the work I went through. In the next hour, the 5 o'clock hour, I want to talk about the extortion that's happening with Avelo Airlines. Story that's barely getting any play as of late. This is outright extortion of a business giving reduced fares or, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Not reduced. What's the word I'm looking for? Cheap fares, I guess, for the lack of a better word. But cheap airline fares to New Haven. And they're being extorted. This story should be everywhere. I want to talk about it in the 5 o'clock hour, so stand by for that. And then we'll get into, your phone calls as well. Do I have time? Let me do this real quick.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
If you've never been to California, I would suggest that when you go into the Los Angeles area, you should go to Sherman Oaks and go shop at the Trader Joe's there. But you might find something odd, and I don't know why any business would do this. In fact, I only know one business that has. But it turns out that in Sherman Oaks, they have a new Trader Joe's grocery store. But this one is making news because they built it right across the street. And I don't mean like in some weird oblong, right across the street. I've seen the photos. Right across the street from the old one. The old one has been there since 1973, a couple of years after Trader Joe's was established. They built a new one there recently right across the street. And people are walking up to it like trying to decide which one to go to. Now, if there's ever been an argument against capitalism, Mondami may have a point in California with Trader Joe's. That's all I'm saying. Let's get another check on the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Mark, isn't there a story, you may not know this, but there's a story about either a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks in some place in Texas that are right across the street from one another. Have you ever heard that?
Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks?
No, either a Dunkin'
Right across
Donuts
the
or a
street?
Starbucks. Yeah, there's an artist that I saw many years ago who tells this story about, it's like a place that he calls like the craziest place in the world, where there's a Starbucks, and I'm certain it's a Starbucks, that are right across the street from one another on this road where no other business exists. But there are only two Starbucks
Oh my
there.
God.
Yeah, so
that's all it is. It's
Yeah.
just, there's two coffee.
But there
two
is a
coffee
place,
places right across the street.
a place where I know this is true. If you've ever been to New York, at Astor Place, on Astor Place in
Okay.
3rd Avenue, there is a Starbucks literally 100 feet away from another one. That literally,
You're
it's a
kidding.
town I used to live in.
Oh my God, that's kind of weird.
That is weird.
That's really weird. That is weird.
It's on the radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Sorry about that. Forgot to put my mic on. Hey guys, we're back. We'll get to your phone calls in two shakes. I promise. Adam, I know you're listening. I always call him City Hall Adam. I need to get anybody on the phone who knows about Daiquat and about July 4th. For those of you who do know that this is going on, this conversation is happening on X as we speak, that there is some sort of effort to put the chemical Daiquat to kill some sort of weird species of plant in and around Connecticut lakes, according to this report. I don't know if it's real or it's not, but Adam, if you know someone who knows about it, please get in contact with me. Just send me a text. You know my number. If anybody else knows anything about this, also let me know. I have somebody that wants me to contact them, which I will do, just to let you know, because people are like, Reese, did you see this? Yes, I saw it. I saw it earlier today, and I need to get my ducks in a row because I thought I was going to have that interview with Project Veritas. I was focusing on that, but now I can focus on this. So I promise you I will have an answer for you or speak to somebody as early as tomorrow on this to see, one, what we can find out, two, how serious this is, and if indeed it is happening. But if you've heard this story about Daiquat, which is a herbicide that is alleged to be put in and around lakes in Connecticut and other states in or around the weekend of July 4th, we are on it. We don't know what the case is. We don't know if the story is just rumor or innuendo, but we will get to the bottom of it in due course and very soon. Okay, just to give you a heads up. Yeah, and with that, let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go with Lori's in Glastonbury. Hello, Lori.
Hey, Reese. How are you,
Pretty
sir?
good. What's up?
So I want to poke the bear.
Okay.
I want to poke the bear with Connecticut Republicans and some of those who, I'm just going to say it, can't seem to get their head out of their bums to see that people are going to push back, and I guess I'm just going to have to take it. I believe Aaron Stewart would be the best possible Republican candidate for governor in next year's election.
Okay.
I think that she would be our best chance to actually get a Republican governor in there.
Because she's the most moderate. She's the most moderate and most affable person in the race against a progressive candidate.
Yes, and she's affable. She's personable. It doesn't hurt that she's a female if you want to check all of the progressive boxes. She also is pro Second Amendment, though, so that might be something that works against her. She has been trying to do a little bit of the doging with the state of Connecticut as mayor of New Britain. She might be an interesting person to have on the show and talk to.
I reached out to her folks. In fact, I have their number. I'll reach out again. She said that she wasn't sure. She still have an exploratory committee on whether or not she's running, and that's why they were hesitant. But she's been on Brian's show since then, so I don't know what the case is. Maybe they don't want to deal with tough questions or they don't want to deal with audience coming after. I don't know what the deal is. I'll try again, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, I highly recommend that. But I know that there are going to be those that are out there that are like, oh, she's a rhino, yada, yada, yada. We need, at some point in time, the Connecticut Republicans need to think strategically and actually put somebody in office that would have a decent chance at actually getting into the position.
It's funny because, that's my back and forth with Mark in West Hartford is usually that. And I get where he's coming from. I used to be like Mark in the sense of I would shout down members of my own party because they weren't Republican enough. Right? They weren't conservative enough. If they had a little wiggle room, I would call them rhinos in a heartbeat. And then, White Mike, who's actually used the phrase here, somebody used it, said, sometimes I'm sacrificing the good for the perfect, right? And that's what you're saying in Aaron Stewart, right? It's like we could be sacrificing the good for the perfect because, Ben Proto as well, because he won't embrace Donald Trump, we've got to, oust him. Sadly enough, Ben Proto might be a horrible example, but I think Aaron Stewart is that's the best example I can give to as far as good for the perfect. And you might be right; she may be the way to go, so that we can at least get somebody that Democrats would vote for or moderates would vote for in the election.
Right. That's what I was thinking. But I also just wanted to. For the firefighting community in Connecticut, I just wanted to offer condolences to the firefighters in Idaho, in the Coeur d'Alene area. And I just wanted to thank all of the firefighters in Connecticut. You are seen. We appreciate you. And, we've been through this with that tragedy in Bristol a couple of years ago. But we see you. You are appreciated. We thank you for your service. And if it wasn't for you, we would be in a mess, literally.
Indeed.
So I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
You got it. Thomas in Thomaston, how are you, sir?
Hey, hello. Hey, I'd like to make a comment on that Muldowney character in New York.
Oh, sure.
But first, question for you, Reese. Isn't, I believe Chuck Schumer forced the reading of the full bill, right? The big, beautiful bill?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of like an FU to Nancy Pelosi, who famously said you have to pass the bill
before we know what's in it?
Find out what's in it? Yeah. When I heard that, I'm like, oh, come on, you're dissing Nancy.
Hey, that's why I said, you know what? If it weren't for double standards, the left would have none, my friend. That's
no, exactly. So, Muldowney, Reese, help me out. Which is the real Muldowney? The thick Middle Eastern accent guy who talks to a group of Iranians, or the guy that sounds whiter than me when he's talking to PTO or something?
The heck if he doesn't. He is, talk about code switching. Everyone, by the way, there's a great bit that's online that talks about him code switching to every, demographic there is in New York, which is, perfect for him. Listen to, I want you to hear this. This is how he is going to get Democrats to, people like Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. She's not for raising taxes on anyone else because she's sick and tired of losing people to Palm Beach and other places across the country. So when he hears that she won't, listen to his answer to how are you going to get people to see your side and raise taxes on the millionaires and billionaires. Listen to what he says is going to be the coalition that's going to get it done.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign. And ultimately, we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
Yeah, how are we going to do it? It's got broad support. That's all. And he says it with a smile.
Yeah, tax. Hey, Reese, is it true that there are now Muslim security forces roaming some Brooklyn neighborhoods?
Yes.
Like they do out in Minnesota?
Yes, it's been there for a while. Yeah.
That is I heard that yesterday. That is crazy.
It's in a lot of places you wouldn't believe. Trust me. There is a lot. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much of it. I'll name 2 states you wouldn't have imagined it: Virginia and Texas.
Yeah, Texas. Oh my God, I would have never thought Texas.
Exactly. Yes, there are a lot. Yep, there are. It's growing. Hey, people didn't even know that China, in New York, China had a secret police force. Did you know that? That answered to China.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like these people they're operating their own police forces on sovereign land, and people are just looking the other way, just going, yeah, that's what they do.
And Reese, that's a perfect example. While assimilation is the only way to go.
Damn right.
If you stay separated, you're not going to have a country.
That is man, I can go on all day about that, Tom. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. I was going to say something wrong. But no, listen. My stepdaughter at the time, I think she was 16. Yeah, 16. We're at a diner in Edgewater, New Jersey. I want to say right along the Hudson River. It's in Bergen County. There's a diner there, old diner. I think it's still there. And we're sitting there, and I'm trying to have a conversation with her. She, of course, being indoctrinated by her school, talking about how we need immigration. Now, this had to have been, what is she, 32 now? So, yeah, so a little more than 15 years ago. And she's sitting there having this conversation with me about immigration and why it's necessary and how we just, we have to allow immigrants into the country. And I explained to her, and I gave her the sort of the other side of this. And ironically enough, this young lady would grow up to live in Australia and in China to teach English as a foreign language. Okay? She'd been everywhere. Like this is a girl who was afraid to even leave home and then traveled in many places across the globe. And when she was 16, before that ever happened, I explained to her, do you understand that if you go into China, like you can't tell China to accept your way of life. You have to accept theirs in order for you to be a part of it. Like you couldn't do that any other place in the world where you go to their country and you bring your culture to it without some pushback. It's unheard of. It doesn't happen. Nowhere in the world does that happen except here. And people keep using the argument that it's a melting pot and we're a nation built on immigrants. Yeah, it's 100% true. But they didn't do it for free. Those folks didn't do it for dirt cheap. They all put an effort in. They all sacrificed. They all have sweat equity. Those immigrants you're talking about, they didn't come here to wash your toilets. They came here to be captains of industry. It's not the same. They are not the same. Those immigrants were builders, and they got paid for their labor. Those immigrants, every one of them. The slaves didn't get paid, but the immigrants did. And whatever they brought, be it cobblers, blacksmiths, whatever the case was, all of those people brought something, some discernible skill, and got paid for it. Not dirt cheap, by the way. They created industries here. We got to take a break. Let's go to weather and traffic and, of course, the news. John Silva's got news. Jason Catarina's got weather. And Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey,
It's Reese on the radio.
Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. Right for you.
On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
and we're back. So, and I want to thank Kevin B. for sending me this info. He was the one who sent me the bit or the piece from the X account called Wall Street Apes. They are talking to people in Connecticut who are actually at ground zero of some of the places where this DQuat has been used. And I just did some research on it. Now, even though it's approved by the EPA, according to this research, there have been petitions to put a stop to this. It says the EPA has approved it for aquatic use. The Jonas Center notes that DQuat is quickly absorbed by plants and breaks down rapidly in water, minimizing its harm to wildlife when used properly. No swimming restrictions are required post-application, though a 48-hour advisory to avoid treated areas is often issued. But here's where it gets a little troubling. Studies of DQuat, such as those from the Cornell University, highlight DQuat's potential toxicity, including severe irritation, organ damage, and possible infertility in high doses, which will be the case here, though human testing is limited for ethical reasons. So there is no extensive human testing on this, even though it is EPA approved. So there's a bunch of people that need to be contacted, and the governor could put a stop to this just because of concern in the area for using it. Especially if Cornell is saying that there's inconclusive information on what damage it could, because they're not going to be using, it's not such somebody's going to come out there with a spray. This is industrial use. They're talking about trying to get rid of wildlife, and they're spraying it inside the water. And there's a video, which I'm going to put it on my Facebook page so you can get to it. So go to reseontheradio.com during the next break, and I'll put it out there. I forget. Look, it's time to get weather and traffic. Let's get weather and traffic in the books real quick, and then I will talk a little bit more about this on the other side. Jason Katarina's got weather. Mark Christmas in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio.
And don't say we didn't warn you. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, folks, almost out of here on the first official day of Reese on the radio on WTIC, News Talk 1080, and thank you guys for riding with us. I know it's a Monday. Everybody's out there getting back to work, all that good stuff. It's nice to be back to work. 17 years in the making. Really, that long. I'm going to talk about this story with a velo in a bit, so stand by for that. If you're looking for the video I was just talking about with regards to DQuat and the spraying that's supposed to take place over the weekend, I just posted it on the Facebook page. Go to reseontheradio.com. Just click on Facebook on the top right-hand corner so you can go directly to the page and you can watch the videos there. Otherwise, you can just look up Wall Street Apes, which is the handle on X. You can find the videos there. A lot of people are going to be talking about this in the coming days. And the more we can get in touch with people, the more we'll talk about this. This is something that has to be stopped, because I just watched video of other places where they use this herbicide, and turtles have ended up dead in less than a month after spraying it. Just all trying to get away from where it was sprayed and ending up dead. There's a video of it, not of primarily the dead turtles, but a man who's actually canvassing the area, and he's coming up with a bunch of dead turtles who were trying to get out of the swamp because of the use of this DQuat. So something needs to be done, and more attention needs to be brought to it, especially the study here by Cornell, which says that there's possible infertility, severe irritation, organ damage. EPA approved? Yeah, sounds about right. Who approved it? Dr. Fauci? Who's the guy responsible for this? Goodness gracious, I don't trust these people. Let's go to Steve in Waterbury. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I do want to talk chemicals. I sent you a bunch of stuff on Facebook about this. But anyways, before that, I want to talk about immigrants in France and in England.
Yeah.
They are changing the composition of those countries.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think these plants could be removed manually. That'll probably be the Democrats thing of why we need illegal immigrants. So watch that argument.
Right.
But years ago, there was a synthetic heroin called NPTP that was here because heroin was hard to come by back in the 80s. Young kids were going to doctors with cases that were like advanced Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
They determined this chemical to be very similar to paraquat, which was a pesticide that was used for a long time. And I long thought that Michael J. Fox, who had been a partier, maybe he got Parkinson's disease from smoking marijuana that was maybe treated with paraquat.
It has been.
I
thought, and it's funny because for a long time, many people believed that the Parkinson's was due to an overuse of cocaine because of the rumors from that movie he did. Oh gosh, he had done a movie that was outside of the norm. You know, he's always done the comedy films, but he did this one movie that involved a lot of drinking and drug use. He was trying to do serious, but at that. Somebody's going to remember the name of it, but it doesn't come to me now. Something like hot something big city, something that he was in.
I got you.
That time, they said that he was very much involved in cocaine use, allegedly. And
yes, he was.
Right, and said that due to all of the nerve damage, if you will, that was often, I think Richard Pryor, who also had Parkinson's, was also rumored to have had it due to drug use.
Right. And again, maybe that was sprayed on the plants that produce the cocaine. It is very well possible,
very likely.
From these other countries. Now, again, paraquat is now they're finally coming with the link for Parkinson's disease. I mentioned this like probably 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I think in the past couple of years, the scientists are saying, yeah, it might very well be from that paraquat. Keep in mind, when we grew up, DDT was very popular.
Right.
And look how bad that turned out to be. You know what I mean? So
I thought that the DDT thing turned out to be not as toxic as the environmentalists had suggested. In fact, there are many people today. Now, I remember DDT, there was an activist group that kept it from being used in Africa. And there were a lot of people who said that because of those activists that they cost a lot of lives in Africa because they weren't allowed or permitted to use it. A lot of environmentalists sort of kept that from happening. But I think the jury's still out on DDT, but I could be wrong about that.
I'll have to research that. I did not hear that.
Yeah, there was a big story about it.
I will definitely research that. Yeah. Believe it or not, and I don't, this is not medical advice, but if you look up nicotine, there's nicotine in tomatoes, nicotine in potatoes. There's a certain thing that chemical does have a certain advantage, not from smoking.
Right.
But if you look up, it's supposed to help with the mind and stuff like that.
I think you're right about the tomatoes. I'm almost certain I've heard that before. I'm almost positive you're good on that.
That and potatoes as well, too. Yeah. It's funny because any root vegetable is more likely to have it.
That's right.
And
true.
People who get like arthritis, they're given a drug that they're saying, well, don't use the root vegetables because that's harmful to you. It's basically probably because it's the same chemical. And I'll send you a link on that at some point, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good talking to you. And congratulations, by the way, and everything, man. I'm so glad I got to talk to you today.
Thank you, sir. You got it. Let's go to, let's go to 1-9. White Mike is calling all the way from Florida. How we doing, boss?
Oh, man. So you happen to have hit upon a subject upon which I'm quite educated since my father died of Parkinson's disease.
Wow. Okay. Talk to me about that.
The previous caller is, he was well-intentioned. He's on the wrong track.
Okay.
People don't get Parkinson's disease from paraquat. People get Parkinson's disease either because they are genetically predisposed to Parkinson's, which happens, or a real large causative factor is repeated concussions.
Really?
Which is how Muhammad Ali got it.
Okay.
Had Parkinson's. Michael J. Fox was a hockey player in Canada in the 80s. He played from a little kid all the way through adulthood. Michael J. Fox also crashed into the back of a car when he was roller skating in L.A. and drove his head through the rear window of a car.
I didn't. Whoa. Really?
Yes. Michael J. Fox got it from repeated concussions, not from smoking weed or doing coke, because none of that causes it.
I remember that. I just remember those stories.
The movie you're looking for is Bright Lights, Big City.
That's the one.
And Richard Pryor did not have Parkinson's. He had multiple sclerosis.
Really?
Richard Pryor had MS, and he died of a massive heart attack.
Well, that much I know.
And I've had 6 concussions in my life.
Really? So does that mean that you are going to be predisposed? I mean, wouldn't we see it at your age today?
My dad got it at 52.
Okay.
And I'm 55.
I was about to say you're beyond that.
Parkinson's, dude, it's roll of a dice. You know, my dad could have gotten it from exposure to pesticides. He sprayed a lot of pesticides back in the day. And
right.
He could have gotten it because he was a cop and he liked to shoot handguns, and ammunition is expensive, so he reloaded, and he would actually cast lead bullets to be super economical. And being in Louisiana, it was hot. Well, you don't want to sit in your shed casting bullets in July.
Right.
He'd wait till the wintertime when it got really cold, and he would close up his shop, put the heater on, and sit in there and cast lead bullets.
Wow.
So that could have done it. But, you know, as far as environmental causes for Parkinson's, dude, maybe, but nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows.
What do you think about this DQuat? What do you think about this DQuat thing where they're planning on putting in lakes in and around Connecticut and around the country?
Are they just trying to, what's it for? Just herbicide, trying to get weeds and stuff?
Yeah, they're trying to go after a particular, I guess, invasive plant life that is not indigenous to the area or indigenous to several other areas, and they're just planning on putting it in the water and spraying anywhere where it is. But people are showing examples of this herbicide that is, affected the water, to one video that shows turtles ending up dying as a result. Now, mind you, even though the studies say, the EPA says that no one should be in the water in the first 48 hours of usage. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, they're probably not going to, remove every turtle that's in the water when it's being used. That may be the result of their death. But
it may be one of those things that you have to weigh the odds. Is this invasive plant going to choke out native plants, and then animals that needed those plants to survive, are they going to die because this plant is gone?
Right. That's the argument that they're making here.
Is it going to be a turtle holocaust and kill off all the turtles and all the fish? Yeah, I kind of doubt that if this thing was that lethal to aquatic life, it would be approved at all. I know it's not. I read up a little bit. It's not approved in the European Union.
No.
But the EU is super strict on stuff anyway. So I don't
Aren't
know.
they?
I don't know. But I will say that, no, the Parkinson's thing, if anybody says they know why somebody got Parkinson's 100%, they're full of it, because nobody knows. You can get it being a totally healthy person with no anything and get Parkinson's. It just happens.
Is it as how do I put it? Is it as random as getting cancer?
I kind of think so, yeah. I mean, you just get it. Some people get it old, some people get it young. I have an aunt who got it in her 60s. An aunt who married my uncle, so no blood there.
Uh-huh.
So, dude, who knows? I see it all the time, but it's like ALS. You may just get it, It just sucks. And I'll tell you what, buddy, I saw Parkinson's with my dad. Parkinson's is such a crappy disease because the only drug they really have for it is L-Dopa, because you're losing your dopamine. That's why Parkinson's is not. People see Parkinson's, see shaking guys and all this.
Yeah,
that's not Parkinson's. Parkinson's is actually a freezing disease. It makes you not move, and when you take your L-Dopa, it jumps your dopamine back up so you can function again. And the dyskinesia you see is when people are like having time their meds right.
Yeah.
There's days I'd go over and see my dad, and he looked like he was literally having spasms. He couldn't sit in his chair. He was dyskinetic. It's awful. It was like, you ever see that movie, My Left Foot?
Yeah.
The one with Day-Lewis?
Yeah.
Kind of imagine that. Like when the guy's having his spasms and stuff, that's what end-stage Parkinson's looks like when your meds are wrong. And I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
It's the worst. That
It
and
looks
ALS.
sick.
I would take Alzheimer's in a heartbeat over that.
Yeah.
At least with Alzheimer's, like you have new stuff all the time. You don't know how screwed up you are.
Right.
Parkinson's is. Oh, and by the way, real quick, there's a new MCU show out called Ironheart.
Please.
With the first black female superhero.
I know.
And I just noticed that when they did the first Muslim superhero, Ms. Marvel,
yes,
they gave her a nuclear extended family. She was a nice, normal teenage girl who loved heroes and had a love interest, was giggly and nice, wanted to do good. Ironheart is an egotistical narcissist who gets kicked out of MIT for short-circuiting the electrical grid, steals all the stuff she wants to build her suit, complains that Tony Stark only was successful because he was rich.
Yeah.
Never mind, he built it in a cave with spare parts. And in the cast, there's a drag queen who's a hacker.
Yes.
There's a non-binary trans man who's her criminal buddy, and they kill people.
Yes, I heard it. I heard this. This is exactly what was said about the review. That this was a review of the reviewers. They said that Ironheart reviews are mean and racist. And then I read what some of the reviews were, and it had nothing to do with being racist. They had to do with everything you just said it was that they completely disrespect the father of the MCU, Tony Stark. That they allowed this to actually happen in the MCU is an abomination.
Well, but let me ask you a real quick question. How come they didn't put the drag queen and the transformer in the Muslim girl show?
Yeah.
Why is that not?
Probably because the directors and the producers would hear nothing of it. I got to go.
Yeah, that's what they think of you.
Exactly. Got to go. Thank you, big guy. Yeah, but you can always rely on, if there's a new MCU or Disney Plus TV show coming out, White Mike is all over it, and he loves talking about it here. I'm a big fan of that stuff, even the bad ones. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more news, more views. We got some more phone calls, and we'll get into this Avello extortion idea that's coming out of where else? Out of William Tong's mouth. It's insane what they're doing. Weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christophers in the BPS Traffic Center. If you were paying attention earlier, I did the stupidest thing I read today. Was a story about a Sherman Oaks, California Trader Joe's that's been around since 1973. Just a couple of months after the company, started. And they built another Trader Joe's right across the street from it. And I knew a comedian was talking about a place that he called the end of the universe. And I couldn't remember who the comedian was, but I knew it was a Starbucks. Well, it turns out that the place that was the end of the universe no longer exists, but you'll have to look it up. The comedian's name was Louis Black. Do you remember him? Louis Black. And he did this bit about a Houston, Texas Starbucks that was right across the street from the other. There was a Starbucks on 2029 West Gray Street, and right across the street was the other one at 2050 West Gray Street. And that one remains open, but apparently the other one that was located across the street closed down. They had to close shut down their operation. Now, this shows you exactly, the next part I'm going to explain to you shows you exactly how wild this story is. It shut down in 2020 because of COVID. The extra Starbucks across the street had to close down because of COVID, according to the story. That was, I think it was May 11th, 2020. It says, one of the most famous Starbucks locations appears to have served this last latte. Windows have been papered over. Signage has been removed from the coffee shop. And they said that it had to shut down because COVID affected plenty of businesses. And I guess COVID was just too much for two Starbucks right across the street from one another. It shows you how crazy. Just shows you how crazy the world is. So if you want to look it up, I'm pretty sure it's online. Louis Black talking about this place that we've called this the end of the universe. He referred to it as a place where a Starbucks sits right across the street from one another. I did not know it was closed. I thought it would still be there, but COVID got another one. If COVID could take out Starbucks, we were all doomed. We have no idea what we were able to endure. If COVID shut down a Starbucks, you have no idea. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. COVID got another victim there, Mark.
Another victim?
Yeah, the place that I was talking about. It was in Houston, Texas, where there were two Starbucks right across the street from one another. It had been there for a while. Louis Black, the comedian, said it was a place, he called it the end of the universe, where he found these two places. And in May of 2020, due to COVID, one of them had to be shut down. One stayed open, but COVID shut down the other one. That's insane. It's absolutely crazy.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, well, Justin, I'm going to have to drag you in on this. I know you don't come on the mic very often, but you're a younger person, so I'm going to have to ask you a question. Do you mind getting on the mic for a quick second?
No, that's fine.
All right. Are you familiar with a rapper from Connecticut named Chris Webby?
I don't usually listen to rap, so I don't know the name.
Do you not listen to rap at all?
No, I don't. No.
No, you're not into hip hop, really.
No.
Just for giggles, what is the genre of music that you do partake in?
Like 90s rock, current rock.
Okay, 90s rock. Well, first of all, current rock is more electronica. So if you picked a rock group today that you listen to the most, what would the band be?
From Ashes to New.
Never heard of that. Okay, another one that I might know. Go more mainstream.
Okay.
Who would be a band that you listen to today?
I do listen to Linkin Park.
Okay, well, all right, that's somebody I would recognize. How about Silver Sun Pickups?
I've never heard of them.
Never what? Okay,
No.
That's your homework. Go listen to Silver Sun Pickups. Did you like what's the guy? Summer of '79. What's Billy Corgan? What's his group? Smashing Pumpkins. Did you like them at all?
Oh yeah, I like Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay, then you will love Silver Sun Pickups.
Okay.
Okay.
I just looked them up. Yeah.
Okay, listen to them and get back to me. The next time you're here and you're filling in, make sure you get back to me on that because I am going to quiz you on that to find out what you think. I think you'll like them. I think you will like them. How about the Struts? You like them?
I don't think I've ever heard of them either.
You got to add that to your homework now. You don't know the Struts? What is wrong with you? Okay.
No.
How about I know you know the Killers. You like them?
Yep. Yeah, I like them.
Okay, you like the Killers. Okay, do you like the Struts? All of these groups that you like, really, Silver Sun Pickups, not the Struts. Haven't. How about Arctic Monkeys?
No, I've heard of them either.
What? What? Okay, that's interesting. All right, so you've got all three of those to listen to. You got the Struts, Arctic Monkeys, and Silver Sun Pickups to listen to. You're going to like all of them. I promise you, you're going to like all of them. And you start early and come back to the new stuff. You probably won't like the new stuff all that much, but you'll love the early stuff coming up to like the new Arctic Monkeys, the early stuff. You're going to love that stuff. Great band. You will enjoy that. It's weirdly enough. Okay. Well,
Right.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. No, I just wrote them all down.
Okay, thank you for participating. So I need to get in touch with Chris Webby. He's the one who's actually online talking about this this DQuat thing online. He's I guess he's one of the biggest voices on this, using his platform to get the word out. I'm going to see if there's a way that I can reach out to Chris Webby. I've seen actually a couple of music videos that he's done. In fact, he's done one that's sort of like a love letter to Connecticut that I actually enjoyed. It was really, really good. So if anybody knows Chris Webby out there, let him know Reese on the radio is hollering, and I'll see if I can get in touch with him or see if I can get in touch with somebody who might be able to get in touch with him to get his feedback on this. Before we get out of here, Avelo Airlines, and as Mike the mailman said, an affordable airline of all places, is now being extorted by, of all people, William Tong and someone else. Story coming out of the New Haven Independent. In a growing effort to hold airlines like Avelo accountable for their role in controversial deportation flights, New York State Senator Patricia Fahey is spearheading legislation that would revoke millions of dollars in jet fuel tax exemptions from carriers found to be violating civil liberties, which, by the way, you have to be able to prove in court. Not because you think they are, but this is what they consider a violation of civil liberties.
Fahey unveiled details of a proposal during a virtual press conference last Wednesday hosted by the national group called the Coalition to Stop Avello. The conference featured Connecticut Attorney General William Tong, who will glom on to anything as much as Chris Murphy will, and advocates from across the country pressing for transparency and action against Avello Airlines, which activists say is profiting from deportation flights contracted by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. New Haven has been the epicenter for the boycott movement against Avello as the budget airline flies 30 passenger travel routes from Tweed, New Haven Airport, even as it spent the past 2 months running deportation flights from a separate airport in Arizona. This is what Fahey said in a statement. It's leveraging our proprietary authority over public airport contracts here in New York to say that it is part of the state oversight contractual authority that airlines have to uphold constitutional rights, she said. The legislation, which is titled State Airport Facilities Enforcing Accountability in Immigration Removals, it's an acronym, for Safe Air, which aims to ensure that no state agency, department, or locality in New York enters into or renews contracts with airlines that transport individuals detained for deportation, just following the law, which, by the way, they did during the Biden administration. And I went so far as to look. You remember those early morning flights coming out of foreign countries into the United States, into places like Westchester. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the New York Post did articles about them. Well, I looked up, and there are plenty of people who suggest that Avello was a part of some of those flights coming into the country. Now they're just part of flights going out. Now, it's inconclusive whether or not Avello has, but it has been rumored that they were a part of that. It's also a fact that Avello was doing just this during the Biden administration, and this may be partisan, which, of course, what do you expect? But this is extortion. Saying that you are going to punish Avello through its tax exempt for fuel by saying that what they're doing is unconstitutional. But here's the part that I even find just more egregious. This is according to William Tong. When I heard what Avello is doing to immigrants and families is a total violation of the law and without regard to due process. And if Avello says, well, that's not us, that's DHS, that's ICE. No, sorry, you're a part of the deal too. Well, if he believes that the DHS and ICE are violating people's constitutional rights, why isn't William Tong suing them? Why is he going after Avello if this isn't extortion? I mean, that's primarily what it is, beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is far worse than bullying. This is far worse than just protesting their business practices. So, again, no one's talking about it, but then that's par for the course. So, I don't know. We'll get to that. Let's get our last but not least in here. Jeff, who's patiently waited on the line, is calling from Marlboro. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, Reese. I'm doing okay. How about you, buddy?
Trying my best, sir. What's going on?
Yes, I just want to talk about that herbicide and one other thing.
Yeah.
I'm no hippie tree hugger, but I tell you, I don't like spraying that herbicide all around. I don't think it's any good for anybody.
I'm watching that video, Jeff, that video of the damage to the trees after they spray it within a month. And they're all brown. It's a swampland. And everything at least 6 feet up, from the water to 6 feet up, is brown and tan, all dead and brittle. No moisture at all.
Yeah, it doesn't discriminate. It's no good for anybody. And the DEP should go out there and physically remove whatever this stuff is. Choose one site at a time, do what you can, and make people aware. There's other methods, physical removal. You can cover stuff up with black tarp so it doesn't get sun and it can't grow.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of other methods. But the other thing I wanted to touch on was the the Parkinson's disease, my brother's been diagnosed a couple of years ago with Parkinson's disease.
Really?
But I really don't think that he has Parkinson's disease. I think because he was in the military for 14 years, he was exposed to a lot of those herbicides on the flight line. Plus, when you work for the military, you're a piece of government cheese. They can do whatever they want to you. And when you go to umpteen different countries, they shoot you up with all kinds of vaccinations, inoculations, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And you can't say no unless you want to get shoved out. And I really feel that he has all the symptoms of Parkinson's, and a doctor looking at him would say Parkinson's, but there's no definitive test for Parkinson's. So
I will never forget my grandfather's famous tome when I talked about his military service, and I questioned like some of the things that he was always talking about things that he had done that he had to do and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, if you thought it was morally wrong, why did you do it? And he responded to me by saying, I was the property of the U.S. government. And I had never heard anyone say that until after my grandfather, to talk to anyone who had ever been an enlisted man or woman say to me, I am the property of the U.S. government. And that is, as a civilian, I can't fathom that, but it makes me respect what they do even more because they volunteered for that. Some of them knowing, some of them not knowing. My wife, knowing that, still says it to this day. I was the property of the U.S. government. And she's still as excited today about the U.S. military as she was when she was there. So I do understand that.
I love them too, and my brother loves them, and my nephew went into service, his son. But it's just, it is true. If you are allowed to say no, but your career is over.
Yeah, yeah, and that means something. It's fascinating how that works, because when you become a part of something like the military, a career in the military is just as valuable as anything else, like having any other regular job and an opportunity to climb up that quote-unquote ladder. It's just as important there as it is in any other facet of your life. It's not about a social status. That's not it. It's having an accomplished record, so to speak. What you're willing to do for it.
He made rank faster than anybody else. He has a record for making rank faster than anybody else at that base. He worked on 2 different bases and 3 different airplane platforms.
Yeah. And
he made rank faster than anybody on that base. And
the juice is worth the squeeze, Jeff. It just is. It just is. I try to explain that to people.
It's difficult to reconcile, what you pay for what you get back. And,
And some people, on the outside, they look at that as not a fair trade, but people who are in the inside, they go, you have no idea. I got plenty. And it is a perspective thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Much appreciated.
That Parkinson's can come, or those Parkinson's syndrome symptoms can come from many different places.
Yeah. I hope we get some answers, man. I hope we get some answers to so many different things that we know nothing about. Thank you, Jeff, as always, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, that's our Monday in the books, folks. Reese on the radio. By the way, I just want to thank whoever it was who did the design for my picture, the animated graph. Can I just applaud you? Can I, please? No one told me. Do with my likeness as you wish. No, I'm kidding. I love it. It looks great. If you haven't checked it out, go to WTIC.com or download the Odyssey app so you can see it yourself. I actually had to get it. I have to get it framed now. I'm so excited about it. And don't forget, check out My Boys and, of course, the official anthem of the Reese on the Radio program, Panics, The Panics, P-A-N-I-X. They've got the song called Holding Up the Wall, the official sound of Reese on the Radio. So make sure you check them out. That sounds great. And we got the licensing. So it's official.
So you can hear that at the beginning of every show. Download it. Show some love to the Panics. I'm wearing their T-shirt now. Go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com so you can watch the video and you can see the T-shirt and get one for yourself. They're some nice guys. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody. King Roland. Thank you guys for being a part of the program. D Snake on bass. We love you guys and we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. John Silva's got news. Jason Caterina's got your weather, and Mark Christopher's getting you home in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, buddy.
And it's official. Reese's card key works in getting into the building. It's
sure
official
does.
now. There it is. It doesn't have to
I got
call
it right
the
here in the
newsroom
drawer, too.
Yeah, doesn't have to call the newsroom to let him in. Go right in now. Look at you, Reese. Have a great night. If you're heading into Hartford, Southland 91's a little slow at 32 A and B.
All right, you're clear. Good show, Reese. I'll talk to you down the line.
Thank you, sir. Hey, don't forget your homework.
No, I won't. I wrote them all down. I'm going to listen to them when I get home tonight.
You got it, buddy.
Eastbound, brief slowdown as you move into the tunnel. Westbound 84 looks real good burning out into Farmington. 291 through 84, okay. 2
All
eastbound.
right, let's
great
get to
shape.
some of these
Glastonbury.
last notes in here. Matt in Bristol says, Reese, I have to be honest, I just went to a Smashing Pumpkins concert, and I've never heard of those bands that you were talking about. What is wrong with you people? Really? You have to go, now you have to listen to all of them. Silver Sun Pickups? Really? I can't, you know what? In fact, forget it. I'm just going to do it just because I can. I'm going to just, where are they? There we go. How do you really haven't heard of any of these guys? I know I'm going to have to go through commercials on this one. Actually, no, it's a quick commercial. I'll play a little bit of this. This is Silver Sun Pickups. This is one of my favorite bands. I've actually seen them. How do you not know this song? It's the song Lazy Eye. You gonna tell me that doesn't sound like Smashing Pumpkins? If you think that's bad, listen to the lead singer. He sounds just like Billy Corgan.
I've been waiting for this moment all my life, but it's not quite right.
That's from 14 years ago. That's 14 years old. How do you not know them? Anyway, you all got homework now. We'll take a break. Well, I'll take a break. We're going home. Good night, everybody. I love you. Please be good to each other. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Holla.